Hit it, Phil.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Can it be the breeze that fills the trees with rare and magic perfume? Oh, no, it isn't the breeze. It's Jackson time. La-da-da-da.
Stay tuned.
Right after this episode.
For our discussion.
Now, the Lucky Strike program, starring Jack Benny, Don Wilson, Jack's special guest, Gisele Mackenzie. And for his first appearance in this country, that sensational dancer from London, England, Mr. Gregory Winthrop.
The last time I'll ever pay anybody in advance.
From Television City in Hollywood, the Jack Benny program. Presented by Lucky Strike, a light smoke, the best tasting cigarette you ever smoked.
Light up a light smoke, a lucky strike. The right smoke's a light smoke, a lucky strike. For the taste that you like, light up a lucky strike.
Light up a light smoke.
A lucky strike.
You'll say it's the best tasting cigarette you ever smoked.
Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Lucky Strike program. Now, the reason we had that rather unusual opening before the commercial is because that seems to be the latest trend now on television shows. You know, right off the reel, they want to give you something exciting before the commercial, something to shock you, you see. And although I do think that some of the programs overdo it. Like, for instance, the other night I saw a program, a show where the television show, where it started right off with an angry mob dragging a man down the main street of a town. Then they tied him to a post, you see. Then they put branches all around him. Then they lit fire, you know, lit the branches, fire. And as this man was burning at the stake, Indians were shooting arrows at him from all directions. I don't remember the name of that program. I believe it was the Loretta Young show. Always so exciting. But, you know, we have such a full show tonight. I'm not going to tell any jokes. I want to bring out my guest star right away, ladies and gentlemen, a young lady who is so talented and so lovely, Miss Gisele Mackenzie. It's so nice having you on my show again. This is your 5th appearance, isn't it?
No, Jack, this is my 4th appearance.
On my show, the 4th? Gee, it's funny, I thought it was the 5th time you were with me.
No, you see, it's my 4th appearance, and before I make my 5th, I'd like to ask you something.
What is it?
Well, you see, you've been awfully good to me in the past, and you've helped me in my career a lot, and you've been very instrumental in getting my own program for me. But...
But what?
How many times do I have to be on your show for nothing?
Well, that's a matter of conscience, and I haven't got one. Anyway, Gisele, look, as long as you brought it up, I'd like to bring up a point, too. A couple of months ago, you were a guest on Ralph Edwards' This Is Your Life. And I did make an appearance on that show, didn't I?
Well, Jack, I had a feeling that the reason you appeared at the studio that night was because You thought they were going to do your life.
What made you think that?
Well, all week long you took crying lessons from Betty Davis.
Well, that wasn't on account of the show. You see, I was expecting the county tax assessor. But anyway, it's true, isn't it? You were a guest on Ralph Had This Your Life, and I did make an appearance, huh?
Yes, and I wish you'd return my charm bracelet.
Well, if you feel that way about it, all right. I'm glad to get rid of it anyway. Twice they threw me out of the steam room at Hillcrest.
Hey, Jack, there's a gold charm missing.
I had it melted down for a filling. Now look, why don't you get ready? I know they're waiting to hear you sing. You get ready for your song, and while you're preparing for it, I'll entertain them. The joke, huh?
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's see you later. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I have a joke that I want to tell you. Now, as a rule, I do not tell jokes. I just sort of ramble along and talk, you know. But this is a wonderful joke. I think it's about a window washer who was working on a building, the City Hall building, downtown in Los Angeles, you see. And he was washing windows on the 16th floor when suddenly his foot slipped, you see.
Okay, I'm ready. Sail along, silvery moon. Trail along, lovers' lane. Sail along, silvery moon. Do my love again. In the glow of your light, let me see him tonight. Once again, hold him tight. Back in lovers' lane. And then the whole world will be brighter as we walk hand in hand. Two blue hearts will seem lighter, you understand. Sail along, silvery moon. Trail along, lovers' lane. Sail along, silvery moon. Do my love again. You understand. Sail along, silvery moon. Let your beams from above guide me back to the one and only one I love. The only one I love. Silvery moon of love.
Isn't she delightful? I mean, what a great artist. About a week ago, I must tell you, I picked up Gisele Mackenzie in my car, you see, and we drove up to Mulholland Drive. All alone, just the two of us, you know. And I went to a spot that I had in mind there, you see, and we were alone, you see, in the car, and I shut off the motor and everything. We just sat there and talked and everything, and it worked out great. She bought 2 lots from me. But if she intends to build a home up there, it'll be wonderful because, you know, the air up there is so much better than downtown in Los Angeles. Oh, this reminds me of this joke that I want to tell you about. This window washer who was washing windows downtown Los Angeles in the City Hall building, you see. And he was up on the 16th floor washing the windows, and suddenly his foot slipped.
Oh, Jack! Jack!
And just as he get this thing off of here.
No, Jack, it's me, Don Wilson.
Oh, Don Wilson, for heaven's sake. I thought you were something that fell off the top of a Chinese restaurant. Now, what are you made up like that for? I mean, was it...
Well, Jack, you remember here just a few weeks ago, I did a commercial dressed in a Calypso costume.
Oh, I remember that commercial, yeah, and the Calypso guy.
Yeah.
And now you're dressed Chinese, huh?
No, I am Siamese.
Siamese?
If you please.
Well, heavens to Yul Brynner. And Don, you're going to do a commercial, a Siamese dance?
Well, yes, I am, Jack, but you see, a Siamese dance is never
You look
done.
like a doll.
Well, a Siamese dance is never done by one doll alone, you see. It's always done by 2 or more people, so my son, Harlow, is here to help me.
You're Harlow?
Come on out, son.
Well, I've heard of the Siamese twins, but this is ridiculous. Harlow, you're going to help your dad in this dance?
That's right, Mr. Benny. We're going to do a dance together.
Well, isn't that wonderful? You and your daddy. Well, go ahead. Say, aren't you afraid that you may lose your hat during the dance?
Well, I don't know about Daddy's, but mine is nailed on.
Nailed on?
You little thumbtacks, he makes a big thing out of it.
Well, look, I hate to keep the audience... Never saw anything like this. Did you? This could be on anybody's show but mine. Look at, well, now, I don't want to keep them waiting, so if you'll do you mind if I stand here and watch it?
No, will you stand right over there?
Yes,
All right.
I'll be glad to.
Come on,
see
Harlow.
this Siamese dance, this thing.
All right. We are gentlemen from Siam. We are known as Slim and Slam. Very fine dancer that I am. Yes, I am.
I guess I am.
From Siam. If someday, perhaps by chance, you decide to try this dance, first you should call ambulance in advance.
Take no chance before you dance.
Around the world it's Lucky Strike. Luckies have that taste you like. On plane or train or motorbike, ease or quiz.
Smoke the bit.
Smoke Lucky Strike. Thailand may have you a grinner, but in Thailand, Luckies are the winner. Light up that fine tasting Lucky. You'll enjoy every pop on a Lucky.
those of you who tuned in late and missed that dance, congratulations. Now, I'm going to tell this story. If it kills me, I don't think anybody will interrupt again. Now, this story is about this window washer who was working on the City Hall building on the 16th floor, and he was washing the windows when suddenly his foot slipped and he fell 16 floors down to the ground and sprained his ankle. So a fella walked over to him and he asked him, he said, how could you sprain your ankle, only sprain your ankle falling 16 floors? So he said, well, fortunately it happened in Los Angeles, and the smog was so thick, you see, that it broke the floor. So people kept asking him why. Pardon me. Wait a minute. Well, you're not supposed to come up here.
Oh, I'm not supposed to. Well, I happen to be a member of the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce. And I feel that it's my duty to defend our fair city against your disparaging remarks.
Well, I didn't.
You probably thought that joke was very funny that you just told about the smog, but I didn't.
Well, I mean, I only did it as a joke. I mean, I certainly didn't mean anything by
I don't
it.
care what you meant. I'm getting sick and tired of people making jokes about the conditions of smog in the Los Angeles area. Well, they say it's a menace. I happen to be born right here in the city of Los Angeles, and I have lived here all my life. And I'm very happy to say it's a very wonderful city.
Well, I'm glad you
Of course,
did.
we do have a very mild condition. But cheap comedians like you would have people believe that there hangs over this city a shroud-like pall of fumes that taint the atmosphere and destruct visibility. This is a gross untruth which I deny. Shut those windows out there and turn on the air conditioning! Turn it on!
I don't know. I have a feeling that he's a counter spy from Florida. Oh, no, he'd be wearing snowshoes. Oh, Gisele, come back here, will you please? You know, I'm not going to let you get by with just singing a number alone. You know, as a rule, you and I do a duet together with violins and everything. Hey, what do you got there?
Well, it's this week's issue of Life magazine. I was just reading it. You know, there's a great big spread in here all about you.
No.
And look what it says here. Jack Benny, Square of Hollywood.
Let me see that. That's Squire. Square.
Well, anyway, it's a very good article. You ought to go out and buy a copy.
Well, I will. I'll wait till Wednesday. I'll see it in my dentist's office.
Want to borrow my charm bracelet?
Never mind. Now, look, Gisele, you and I, we ought to do a violin duet. Something new, though. Something we haven't played before. You know, they always like their... Oh, will someone bring out the violins, please? Thank you, Gregory Winthrop. I don't know why I thanked him. He can't hear me. Well,
what do we play?
Well, I tell you what, you know, as a rule, we play a number alone, just the two of us, you know. But I thought that this time, just to add something, I'd have some of the boys of the orchestra come out here and have a sort of a jam session. Hey, fellas, come out here, will you?
Oh, goody.
Thank you. Now, of course, you know who all these boys are, but the audience, I'd like to introduce them to the audience. This is our pianist, Charlie Bagby, and this is our clarinet player, Wayne Songer. He doesn't look very good. He's been blue ever since Jane Mansfield got married. This is Frankie Remley, our guitar player here. We're very proud of Frankie. He just performed a wonderful test for the government, you see. He stayed 7 days in a bottle. Don Rice, our bass player, and Sammy Weiss, our drummer. Now, come on. Now we'll play a number.
Jack,
What?
Jack, who's this fella standing here on the end? What does he play?
Well, he doesn't play anything. He's their parole officer. Look, I won't need you. I'll be responsible for these fellas.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Benny. I can't leave them unless someone will put up bail.
Well, how much would it be? I mean, I don't mind.
Well, about $1.50 ought to do it.
All right, I'll take care of that.
Gee, it's gone up.
Yeah. It used to be only 50 cents. Now, I'll tell you what we'll do. What would you suggest that we play with the boys?
Well, how about kind of a hot number? You know, something like Dark Town Strutter's Ball or Sweet Georgia Brown, something like that.
Something like Sweet Georgia Brown. Well, that ought to be good.
All
Sweet
right.
Georgia. Now, look, we'll alternate, you see. I'll take one strain, you take the next, and I'll take one, and then you the next. You know,
You
each
mean
take a...
sort of share the responsibility?
Yeah. All right, give us an introduction on Sweet Georgia Brown. The arrangement the boys have for this number. Excuse me just a minute. I didn't like their arrangement. Let's take it again, will you please? Because I put up their bail. Anyway, if you want to play it nice and have the orchestra soft, don't show off. I begged you a million times we played, don't show off. Just play the counter melody.
Whatever you say, Squire.
Oh. Let's play it together.
All right.
Together. We're going to play that old favorite, T for Two. T for Two for the encore.
Mr. Benny,
what do you want now?
I'm a little ashamed for having interrupted you in the middle of your show and falling out about that smog gag.
Well, that's all right.
Well,
that's all right. Thanks.
It was a very cute joke, and I apologize.
Well, that's all right. We have a number now.
You can use that joke anytime you want to.
Well, okay. Just leave that we have a number to do. Give us.
Jack will be back in just a moment, but first, here's a word about a light smoke, Lucky Strike.
Light up a light smoke, a lucky strike. The right smoke's a light smoke, a lucky strike. For the taste that you like, light up a lucky strike. Light up a light smoke, a lucky strike.
When you smoke a Lucky, you're smoking light. Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. Superbly light, naturally good-tasting tobacco that's toasted to enhance the lightness, to make the taste even better. So, light up a light smoke. Light up a Lucky.
For the light smoke you like, light up a lucky strike. Light up a light smoke, a lucky strike.
You'll say a Lucky is the best-tasting cigarette you ever smoked.
Well, thank you very, very much for being on the show, and I'm sorry, I have hardly time to say goodnight. You were such a wonderful audience that we went way, way over. Thank you very much. Next Sunday, be sure and watch Bachelor Father, starring John Forsythe. I'll be back in 2 weeks with my guest star, Jimmy Stewart. See you then.
Well, hello again. This is Buck Benny speaking. I'm joined by our friend and fellow Benny, aficionado and podcaster, John Henderson from This Day in Jack Benny. And new season coming up here very soon. I haven't started it yet. I don't think you could have started it yet either, probably.
No, I haven't.
But it's going to be close, like a couple weeks, I think, out. So, yeah. Can't wait.
Yeah. I love to get into a new season, and I get a burst of energy when I start a new season. To start recording the intros and things. It's lots of fun. Yeah.
Well, and I'll be presenting because it'll be I don't know. You help me with the anniversary. It'll be the I don't know 70th anniversary of the very last episodes. So it'll be the anniversary of the 54-55 season, which is the last season of the Jack Benny show. So those are always fun to present, and we get the last appearance of Ed, and he comes up from the vault, and so many things happen as last episodes. You can definitely tell it's the last season of the show. So it's just fun to it sort of feels like a victory lap season. And I'm glad they did it, even though it's very weird. Lots of repeats and lots of,
now, do you present the repeats or do you skip past them?
No, I present them. Okay. I present them because but I mentioned that they're repeats and stuff, but they're so good, it's fine. Yeah. And I don't know, almost some of the repeats, at least in the last season for sure, are direct, like absolute. They just replay the episode. Some of them they add a little piece to it, like a intro piece, or change it. Sometimes I wonder why they change anything, but whatever, it's fine. I like it better that they did. So you might have an additional 5 minutes to the show or something, and that's it. And then other ones, like they've done so many times, are complete, where they just grab the script and totally redo it. So it's a new
a lot of times.
version. Yeah, it's a new version of a script we've already heard. So that's very common. But mostly in the season, when they get together, they do something new because they kind of know it's the last season. And so they'll do a final episode of whatever the thing is for that final trip to the racetrack or final thing. And they don't call it the final, but you can definitely feel like there's some closure in some ways throughout the season. So that'll be fun to present.
Well, for my podcast, This Day in Jack Benny, when they redo the script, like you said, I'll redo an intro. But if they just replay the episode, I don't bother doing that because the references are all the same. And my podcast is about sort of explaining the references that people these days wouldn't get. So
well, I do the same thing. I usually scrape my intro off the previous time I presented it, but present it on the correct one. Just I know the sound quality is a little different or whatever. Usually it's a little better. Usually it's because it's the final season. The record's
Yeah.
probably in the best shape, whatever. So it'll be presented in its highest quality usually at that point. And then the other unique thing I have this season going on that every time I get to these, I think, how am I going to do these? But it's the and I know you presented them separately, the rehearsal of
Oh
the
yeah.
episodes. There's so many rehearsals that survive from that season, and the different what I do is the rehearsals. There's so much that's off mic where they're taught Jack's talking to a little kid, or Jack's talking to somebody, one of the Beavers or something, and you can't really hear it. It's so low. They're off mic and they're talking to each other. So what I did was on all of those, I cranked the
Totally. Yeah.
volume up through the roof, and
Yeah.
so that you can usually hear at least a little bit about what they're saying. It just sounds
Yeah.
really weird and muffled a little bit, but
And it's a good enough quality recording that you can do that, as
yeah.
opposed to like the early recordings where it would just blast your ears out if you were to
Yes,
crank it.
yes.
Yeah.
No, it does work, and if there's nothing there, if I hear something and I blow it up and it's a chair being moved and that's what was going on, and like, okay, I'll
Yeah.
just excise that and not have that. But so they're a little polished, the final the rehearsals. So those will be fun to present, and I'm presenting them in between. I think what I'm going to do this year is like Sunday nights present my Jack Benny show, of course, and then like on Thursday or something, I'm going to present the rehearsal for that week's show, so they can actually, it's like they're going to the rehearsal with Jack, and then they can see the final show on the Saturday. So I think that'll be kind of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I remember there was one that was cool because we had both the rehearsal and two versions of the broadcast, the East Coast and the West Coast,
Yes.
I think. And I feel like there might have even been another one. Anyway, and so what I did is I mixed all the most interesting parts of the stuff that was either cut out or
Wow.
behind the scenes chatter and stuff like that, and put it all together into one.
That's
That's
a cool
definitely
thing.
not something you could do for many episodes, but for this one,
No,
it like
no.
worked. Yeah.
Well, and at this point, Mary was not on the shows unless she was she'd be
Right.
on the
Yeah. Yeah.
show, but she'd record it at home and they'd insert her recordings into it. So she sort of, it would be like hearing her and just out in space somewhere coming in, and it didn't always fit perfectly. But what's nice is we have at least one or two episodes. I think it's just one, but it might be two, where we have the person that's doing it actually
Yeah.
live on with the gang, and that would be like either Janet Iman or Jack's daughter Joan.
Yeah.
And then we also have the version where Mary dubs her lines over Joan or over
Yeah. Yeah.
Janet Iman. So which is kind of cool to have it both of those ways, and I usually present both of those as well.
Yeah.
I have uh, I have a guest presenter throughout the year. Schulman is the he wrote a bunch of, he's a big time writer, and so he does some of the intros, and sometimes like he'll do an intro. I'll have him intro like the Jeanette Iman version or whatever, and then I'll intro the Mary version, and so it's
Yeah.
just gonna be a
I've
fun
heard
time.
some of those. Those are really, really
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
he's a pro. He does a really good
Yeah.
job. So so those are fun, and I wanted him to do that season, and he did. So that was great.
That's awesome.
And then the other thing, what was I going to say? I don't know. Anyway, today's episode is Gisele Mackenzie, and it's a live episode, correct? Do you assume?
I don't know.
It looked kind of live. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
hard to
either
tell
live or
sometimes.
film, but either which way, it's done on this. It's all in studio on the stage, sort of thing, with the live
Yeah.
with the studio audience and all of that. So I would assume it's live. Anyway, we'll chat about this episode. It's got Mel Blanc in it. It's got who else? who does it have anybody? It's got Don in it, and Don's son.
That's right. Yeah.
Harlow, not his real son, it's the actor that plays his son.
Yeah.
And it, yeah. So what stood out for you now that I'm thinking about Don's part? Yeah, we definitely have to talk about that. So
Yeah. I thought it was a wonderful episode. I loved this episode. I think you might be right that it's live, but the picture quality is so good. Sometimes on the live episodes, the picture quality is not very good, but this was great picture quality. I thought it was so fun to see Jack having a good time with Gisele Mackenzie, and she has a good time too. Like she does like a kind of like a about to laugh face. So it's just like they're having fun, and it's great. So we could get into the minutia if you want.
yeah, let's because they've already seen the episode right before
Yeah.
they got to us. So I love this because we can't spoil anything.
Yeah.
I'll jump in with it's a fun episode. I really enjoy this episode. There is some cringy moments that we probably need to talk about. The cringy part is Don's piece. Don and his son do a whole dance number with hats and everything, and they're supposed to be Asian. I don't. And they're not playing that they're Asian, I don't think, but they're essentially Asian buildings that they're kind of dressed up as, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
I
anyway.
also, I think one of the main things which they mentioned a couple times is Yul Brenner, because he plays the King of Siam in The King and I, right?
Yes.
And in the end, they take off their hats and they reveal that they're bald.
Yes.
And I feel like that's also a reference to him in that
Yul
movie.
Brenner, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So maybe, yeah. So I don't know. Just accept it for the time. Just go through and enjoy it for what it is. And I could see that if anything's going to be offensive this episode, that could be offend somebody, I suppose. But it was a fun little bit, and it's fine. And but seeing Gisele and Jack together, they just look so comfortable with each other. They've been performing together at this point for a number of years. She talks about how Jack helped her get her own show. I think Jack was pretty instrumental in helping her career throughout. They certainly there's always talk of them having a relationship or something, and who knows. She always, because she was around for years. She passed probably a decade ago or something. So even in her final interviews and things, people would still always ask her about her and Jack, and she'd always say, she talked to Jack about it, and he said, "Don't deny it, but don't, let them think what they want to think," sort of thing. And so because that's more fun or whatever. And so she'd always wink, wink. Who knows whether they had a relationship or not. I kind of my take on it would be I don't know. I don't think they did. I think that it was kind of a father-daughter relationship, if anything, and it was cute, and it was fun to play that, and it was fun to be flirty with each other and that sort of thing. But anyway, that's just my take. The parts that are together, they do some of the numbers are a little different than numbers we've seen before. The bits to me were a little different, not made up fresh, so I like that. Why don't you, John, cover the Mel Blanc piece of him coming on? I think that was a really good use of Mel Blanc. It was fun to see him.
Yeah, totally. And I do agree that these are like one of the strengths of this episode is there's a lot of funny stuff that if you haven't seen it before, it's fresh and new, like Gisele Mackenzie and their violin bit.
Right.
But they also are updating it so that if you have seen it before, it's something a little different. So one of the things that Jack does in a number of episodes is he does this thing where he starts to tell a joke and then he gets interrupted somehow. And so they start doing that, and it's like, okay, fine, whatever. Like there's not a real payoff like there are in other versions of that same thing. the first couple
Well,
times
the
he
payoff is
attempts
he
it.
actually gets through with the joke and retells it from the
Yeah.
beginning. Every time he starts from the beginning, usually he starts where he left off, and that's the joke is you don't
Yeah.
understand it. But this one actually was a joke, not a great joke, but it was a joke. And
Yeah.
he gets through the whole thing. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, maybe it was funnier at the time when smog was like a hot
True.
button thing that everyone was joking about. And so he does this joke about smog, if people would have just seen it. And Mel Blanc comes up, and the way that he like acts as this sort of like just disgruntled Chamber of Commerce from LA person who's so offended that he talked about the smog of his city, and the way that he slowly transitions that into actually coughing and sort of admitting the fact that the smog is terrible is done so beautifully.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether he's doing the voice because he's supposed to be like gravelly from the smog, or if it's just this time period. But to me, he sounds like Mr. Spacely from the Jetsons. That's what it
Yes.
reminded me of. So it was just fun to hear that voice that you're so familiar with and see the face going with it. And his acting is wonderful. And then when he comes back at the end after the after the music bit and then starts he won't leave, he apologizes, and then he just sort of watches, and then he
Right.
takes over. I thought that was delightful as well.
Well, I think it's so interesting how Mel, people call him a man of 1,000 voices or whatever. I tend to think he more like has 100 voices, and you sort of hear them through, like he'll have where he plays with a voice that's supposed to be his businessman voice or whatever. That
Yeah.
you'll hear it like in Warner Brothers cartoons, and you'll hear it on the Jack Benny show, and then he'll get a big bit like Mr. Spacely where he's going to play him for. Well, he only played him for a year, I guess. The show only ran a year, but it felt like forever.
Yeah.
So and then he grabs onto that's my business voice because I'm a businessman as Mr. Spacely or whatever. So he grabs that same voice. And so then it becomes linked to a character, but it was years after he was already using that voice. So it's kind of interesting with Mel how that kind of works. And that happens a number of times where a character, I mean,
Totally.
certainly his speed buggy is essentially bringing to life the Maxwell. And
yeah, exactly. And we did an episode recently where a dog barks, and it's his Dino voice.
Yes, yes, yes. So it's I just love that, and of course at the time there's no tie-in between the two. It's a future voice that
Yeah.
But for us, looking back, it makes it fun. And I love the way he did such a good job. I mean, usually, okay, Mel Blanc's going to do something. He's playing his what is it, the Finkay or what, Mr. Fink or whatever.
Yeah,
He always
right.
has that piece, and I thought, oh, they're going to do that again, but they didn't. So that was really charming that they did something new. I'd never seen this bit before, and you're used to certain voices coming out of him, and you just think, oh, that's Mel, and it's great, and then whatever. In this case, it's such a different voice, and and he does it so seriously when he's really seems angry at Jack.
Yeah.
That for every once in a while you'll flip and you'll be like, oh, this is just an angry businessman at Jack, and don't even really relate that it's Mel. And I think partially because he's wearing like a toupee, and he usually doesn't wear a toupee or something, so he just looks a little different.
Yeah.
And so it's not like I was fooled, but I mean, it just I was able to suspend my disbelief and accept this new character guy, this angry councilman or whatever. And then to see him, it's such a nice, like you say, slow burn into the cough. He like coughs once, then keeps going. He's still mad, and then he starts coughing more and more and more, and then eventually he's got to go. So I just love that piece. It's a little throwaway piece, but it's a good throwaway piece.
It's such an interesting thing that on the Jack Benny show, he would reuse these big characters so often that people became familiar with them. Whereas in a normal television show or even radio, maybe less in radio, maybe it's because it started in radio, but you would think you would get new character actors every time for this new part.
Right.
But the fact that, he's able to go back and use the same character actors and people accept it.
Yeah.
Almost like like a comedy variety show, like a sketch show.
Well, I was thinking, yes, like a sketch show, or like it reminds me of different theater troupes that would perform like Shakespeare plays and you see the same actors play, well, certainly like Orson Welles' troupe, you'd see that, you'd hear them do Hamlet, and then you'd hear them another time they'd be the same actors, but they'd be doing Romeo and Juliet or whatever it is. In this case, he's got the same players that he has. I personally wish they would have used them even more, because certainly he and I think, is it Levitt or Levy, his producer, director, they definitely had battles about whether to use the director always wanted to use new people,
right?
And Jack wanted to use Frank Nelson and Mel Blanc and all these folks.
Exactly, yeah.
And I wish Jack would have pushed harder and won more of those battles, because I think for us as an audience now, you would have actually enjoyed it maybe more to have those. Like, well, we're going to be doing the race episode here and presenting that. We're recording it today as well. And in that one, I would have liked to have seen Frank Nelson and Mel Blanc to have a little bigger. I mean, Nelson's not even in it. That I would have loved to have seen Mel Blanc doing more. But also, you don't know either. They could have tried to get Frank Nelson, and Frank was busy. I mean, this is the time, right around the time that he would probably be a regular or close to a regular on the Lucy show, as her neighbor when she was in Connecticut or whatever. It's around this time frame, I think. So who knows? I mean, we're just assuming they choose not to use these people and that they'd always be on Jack's show, but they're busy. Even Mel Blanc, you would think he'd be called in from time to time to do Warner Brothers cartoons and maybe not be available that week or whatever. Who knows?
Sure.
But yeah, like I say, a fun episode. The other piece on this that we get to see again, which is nice, we've been seeing them more it seems like they've been popping up more from time to time, is his band. And he introduces the whole band, not the whole band, but I mean the band, the part of it that we know is there.
Yeah.
There's a few other people we don't know as well. So like Bagby's there, and Remley, and Sammy, the drummer, and all of that. And it's kind of nice at some point, because I find myself looking at the background while they're performing to see who's playing, to see if I can actually see the players, and you can see Sammy actually playing the drums back there, and that's kind of fun to see that. So there's just, as a Benny fan, this is a fun episode to watch. And like I say, when you see, it's Gisele and Jack, you're assuming it's going to be one thing. And so in your head, once you've seen a few Gisele and Jack performances, you're going, well, maybe that's not going to be such a great episode for me or whatever. But really, like I say, it's different enough that you enjoy Gisele and Jack's pieces, and they certainly seem to be enjoying each other so much you enjoy that. Plus, all the other new pieces that are throughout are really enjoyable too. So I like this one. Yeah.
I think it's possible if you were to watch all the Gisele episodes back to back, you might be okay. Yeah, I get it, right?
Yeah,
but I
haven't
seen a Gisele episode in a long time, so I love this. I thought it was so fun, and the same thing with the band. You hear them talking about the band throughout the radio show, and they'll mention, Sammy the drummer, or Bagby the piano player, and of course Remley the guitar player is the most notorious for being this sort of like wild drinking kind of guy. And so to actually see them every time they come up, I'm like, we never get to see them, but I guess we have a few times now. But it's still great, and it's so fun. And then to see them actually play with Jack, especially in this sort of small ensemble kind of thing, is so fun. And I didn't see the bit coming. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
When he goes and whispers to the band. And so for them to, drown her out by playing loudly during her parts, I thought was so fun and delightful.
Yeah, and that was new. And I like that. I like that too. Yeah. And I like seeing Remley. You actually see him holding the guitar. So so I was going, I'm trying to get it in my head, because you're looking at the TV and you're going, okay, is he playing left-handed? And I'm like, yeah, he is. That's left-handed. He's holding it. So that's kind of cool to actually see. He's always called the left-handed guitar player, and then you see him playing left-handed. I'm like, okay, probably where Paul McCartney learned to play his instrument was by watching Remley, I assume. So
yeah,
and Sting.
So what did you think about the opening for this episode? That was an unusual opening.
Yeah,
where they've got the heads in the stars.
Yes. Yeah, it was definitely different, and I enjoy whenever I get a different opening. It's good for me. So yeah, I enjoyed the whole show was just excellent.
Yeah.
And having the actual ads on this one has all the commercials, the original
Yeah.
commercials still in it. I always think that's a bonus. I mean, yeah, I don't love it. They're all about smoking and everything, but seeing all the commercials is kind of fun. And it's nice. I always love to see the Tarrington commercials.
Yeah, filter tip Tarrington.
Yes, because they never know how to do a commercial on those. They haven't known from the beginning. We always talk about how my original was my favorite commercial from the radio shows because they would come on and say, because it's the cigarette that they gave free to all the folks that were in the armed services. So they come back, and the armed services guys are used to those, but they're really they give them to the armed services because they're cheap, and so they're really cheap cigarette. So that they don't really know what to push on the promotion because they're nothing but cheap cork filtered cigarettes or whatever, or at least originally. And so they said, there's something about them you like. There's something about them you like. And that was the original tagline. And it was like, what do you like about them? And what they don't even know what you like about them. They just know you like them. And then in this one, it's on the same thing. When you watch that commercial, be trying to pick out what is it that makes these things special. And there's like nothing really. They're mild. And I think that's the whole thing, is their mildness is what makes them so great. I'm like, really? That's your sales pitch? But whatever. The cigarette that has no clear tagline that makes any sense. At least Lucky Strike, it's always, it makes sense. It's like, okay, what you're saying is you're saying that these are the most popular amongst college students, or whatever they're going to push is fine. But Tarrington, it's like the whole marketing team was like, it's the junior staff or something that put together those commercials. Just don't have any ideas. But
I love seeing the commercials, and it's the kind of thing where my kids are in a generation where they're not really, their friends aren't smoking. They have no desire to smoke. They hear all these terrible things about cigarettes, and so to see them, promoting the cigarettes in this way is just funny. It's just hilarious. Like, to see that, I don't know. I just thought it was so funny that he gets up and has his midnight snack and has a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and his wife comes and they light up together or whatever. Like,
light up, Lucky, it's a light up time.
And then when the Tarrington commercial, I was watching it and my wife was in the background, and she turns and she's like, wait a minute, they Lucky Strike was a non-filtered cigarette? I was like, yeah, because now filters are standard. So
yeah,
it's crazy to think that they would even have a non-filtered cigarette.
I'm sure that you can get a non-filtered cigarette somewhere if you want it, but it's like, I've never, So, but yeah, no, I love when the ads are in these things, and they're great. I love it when they keep the ad that's done during the Jack Benny show in there. I'm trying to remember, was the ad during Don's part? It must have been.
It was, yeah.
Okay, because I don't. It must have been during the song that they were singing. And things. So got it.
I thought the intro was interesting with the stars, and I wonder if it's a reference to something that we just don't know, like some other TV show that had, heads pointing out of stars. I could see that being like a variety show thing, and then Jack getting the idea that it closes on somebody or something.
Yeah, so it could very well be. But that was just interesting and different, and I love, like I say, anything different's fun. But I don't know which one it's referencing either. But it would not surprise me at all. I mean, that's what Jack's team does, is they like to spoof other shows and things. So yeah. But anyway, enjoy this one, and we'll be back to show you another one here. I'm trying to remember which one comes first. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we have the racetrack one coming up here in a couple of weeks, or if we already did the racetrack one. But we shall see. If you already saw it, enjoy it. If not, then that's something to look forward to.
Doesn't Jack tease it? Doesn't he say, "Oh, in 2 weeks I'll be back with this"? So
he does, but doesn't he say that's the other thing I was going to point out? Doesn't he say in 2 weeks I'll be back with an episode with Jimmy Stewart in it?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. So I'm trying to figure out which Jimmy Stewart episode that was, but I don't know. So we'll see. We'll be back with either a racing episode or a Jimmy Stewart episode. The thing that John and I have noticed over time too, sometimes he'll come on and say somebody's going to be on in 2 weeks, and that person is definitely not on in 2 weeks, and they maybe were never on the show, or they weren't on the show for years. So I don't know. I mean, he was. It's like they would brag about something and maybe not have all the contracts quite signed yet or something. Very strange. You would think if you're going to brag about something, you'd have it in the can already or something, so it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, so enjoy this one, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Wow. Now for something very special, Kathy, what do we have now?
We've got a trailer for our upcoming episode.
Wow. John, do you like trailers?
Ooh, do I?
All right, let's see it.
Don, listen, stay here with the baggage. I'm going over to the information desk and check on our ticket. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Pardon me, mister. Is the super chief leaving on time? I don't know. Well, what gate is it leaving from? I don't know. Well, what track is it leaving on? I don't know. I don't know. You're a fine information clerk. What makes you so stupid?
Well, it happens that I have a malfunctioning of the pineal gland, which causes a subcranial pressure on the tissue-like covering of the cortex, which in turn creates a diminution of the dorsal cerebellum and a corresponding elongation of the medulla oblongata. This makes me stupid.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Can that condition be corrected? I don't know. Oh, never mind.
Attention, please. Attention. Will the holder of baggage check number 6847-359 please come and get this turkey? Please? Oh, shut up.
Hello, Mr. Benny.
Mr. Kitzel.
A pleasure to see you.
Well. What are you doing here at the station?
I'm taking a trip to Chicago.
Oh, you're going all the way to Chicago?
Yes, and I can see my wife's face now. Ooh, will she be surprised?
Oh, she doesn't know you're coming.
She doesn't know I'm going.
Now, Mr. Kissel, don't tell me you had another fight with your wife.
It's not my wife, it's our relatives.
Oh, you still have a lot of relatives living with you?
Ooh, you think this station is crowded? At the last count, 36 relatives came to stay with us.
36?
12 of them were taking their word they don't have birth certificates.
I see.
Oh, my, what a crowd in my house. Every place they are sleeping. On the couches, on the beds, on the chairs, and on top of the piano is my cousin O'Flaherty.
O'Flaherty? Your cousin?
He is one of the 12. We're taking his word for it.
Well, it was nice seeing you.
My pleasure, believe me. Hold the train a second, please. Hold it.
Oh, Jack! Jack, do you remember that agreement you made with Rochester about the one getting ready for bed first gets the lower berth?
Yeah?
I think you're going to lose. Why? Look!
Well, it's the last time I make a sporting deal with him.
Attention, please. Attention. Santa Fe train number 17, the Super Chief for Albuquerque, Kansas City, Chicago, and New York, now loading on track 8.
That's our train. We better get going.
For Albuquerque,
Mister! Are you the ticket agent?
If I'm not, I made $2,000 today. Now, what can I do for you?
I want to exchange this ticket.
Oh, did you get it for Christmas?
No, I didn't get it for Christmas. Now, there's been a mix-up in my reservation. I had compartment H in car 1224. Now, there's somebody else in it.
Oh, yes, I gave that space away.
To whom?
A fellow named Chuck.
Chuck. And a big fat girl?
Careful, you're talking about my daughter.
Your daughter?
She thinks she's eloping.
I don't care what she thinks or what you think. Listen, I've got to have a compartment on that train.
Well, I'm sorry, but there's no compartment left.
But you got to give me something.
Jack, come on, hurry. Hurry up, Jack.
Coming. My train is leaving. I don't want to miss it. Now, please give me something.
Oh, all right. I can find space for you in car 1214.
Okay. Good. Will I have to change trains?
Indubitably.
What?
Indubitably is 2 miles east of definitely.
Now cut that out! Just give me my ticket.
Oh, all right. Here you are. And now all we have to do is transfer your luggage. Do you have a baggage check?
Yeah.
And what's the number?
Here it is. 6847-359.
Well, you won the turkey.
What? Station master! I wanted the turkey.
Jack, hurry.
Coming!
Appearing on tonight's program are Mel Blanc and Dale White. Words and music for Two Gentlemen from Siam were written by Malin Merrick. Remember, 1 week from tonight on this station, be sure and watch the new Bachelor Father show starring John Forsythe. And next Friday on most of these stations, watch the exciting new series about the Texas Rangers, Crackdown. Brought to you by Lucky Strike, product of the American Tobacco Company. Remember, tobacco is our middle name. And here's a word for filter tip smokers.
Mildness makes the difference.
That's something Tarleton taught me. When you smoke a lot, Tarleton's mildness does make a difference. You get more enjoyment all the way.
Mildness makes the difference. Smoke filter tip, Tarleton, filter tip, Tarleton. Mildness makes the difference.
Jack Benny's next television program will be in 2 weeks with his special guest, Jimmy Stewart. This is Don Wilson saying good night.